If you don't want your divorce to go really terrible, one of the things you need to do is not be driven by your emotions, okay? You're gonna be making decisions and cutting deals that affect everything in your life for likely the rest of your life. This is not a time to be an emotional mess. This is not a time to be run around by revenge or getting even or fear or anger or outrage. Like any of these intense emotions really don't have any place in divorce. Now, you can only control your side of the table, right? Like how you show up and how you behave. Well, that's all we can do is control how we act. But if you can keep a calm, cool, collected mindset, you're going to be so much harder to manipulate, to force into a bad deal, to scare. Instead, you're going to be like, look, I'll consider that. Let me talk to my attorney about that. Let me reflect on that. Just that energy, right? We want to make and we appreciate the decisions we made when we felt like this. That cool energy versus right? So choose calm, cool, and collected instead of like crazy, and you will, your whole divorce will go a lot better. When you're getting divorced, you're gonna have to make a lot of little decisions, especially when it comes time to the decree. And the thing is, that's the papers at the end of the court case. So there are certain decisions in that decree that can have really far-reaching consequences, right? Like who pays for the cost of health insurance? I mean, it may just be in that moment, depending on whose job it is, you make one certain decision, but then later realize, hey, it should have never been the insurance on his because he'll never tell me anything. He never does open enrollment. He never gives me the insurance cards. I never get the EOBs, right? But it seemed like this kind of like, I mean, it's a medium-sized deal, but like not the end of the world, but the amount, I think of like this funnel, right? That can kind of explode. The amount of consequences that can come out of every little exception are huge. Like, what about who pays for the kids' cars if you don't say anything about it? How do you think that's going to go when they're 16? Or car insurance or cell phones. And each one of these little things can have really far-reaching consequences. So you want to have a relationship with the legal team that can help you think through each one of them and whether it's like worth raising and getting into the final orders and the consequences of maybe giving some of that stuff up for the long term. Ignoring your lawyer's legal advice in a divorce proceeding is like a really dumb idea. So let's just get this straight. I'm going to pay you to give me advice, and then I'm going to listen to it, but then I'm going to go and do the opposite thing because I know better. Like in certain things in your life, look, you're going to have a decision to make. This lawyer may be telling you things based on their experience, their values, whatever, and you may decide to take a different course of action. I think you should do that pretty carefully, because they've been there, done that, got the t-shirt in the divorce universe. Hopefully you hired somebody who's done this before. So they're going to have some insight that you may not have. And certain things lawyers tell you, it's like, if you do the opposite, you can tank your whole custody case, your whole separate property claim, like from the beginning. And I think sometimes people have this idea of like, oh, you're a lawyer, you're making more money if you tell me X, Y, Z. Like, most lawyers, I mean like 99%, if not more, lawyers that I know give the legal advice that they believe is in your best interest. Now, reasonable minds can disagree sometimes of what that would be, but the lawyers are not like, how that doesn't make sense. Why would they tell you like bad legal advice just so they make more money? Because then you're not going to send your friends and family to them. You're not going to give them a good name and their reputation. I mean, unless they plan on being out of business tomorrow, that just doesn't make good sense. So generally speaking, in your divorce, I recommend you err on the side of doing what your lawyer tells you to do. And even if you don't like it, as long as it's not like against your core values or whatever, but you should probably listen to them. And that's what you're paying them for anyway. We'll get a question sometimes. How can I make him or her pay for what they did to me? And that question is really saying, how can I get revenge through the divorce process? And I'm like, you ain't gonna get revenge through this process because you're gonna cut your nose to spite your face. Because at least in Texas, we have community property. And all the money that you spend seeking revenge is 50% theirs and 50% yours. So all of your dollars you're spending on this revenge cost you 50 cents. That's a lot of money and it adds up quickly. And most regular folks, we can't afford using the legal process to get revenge because it costs a lot of money and it can backfire on you. Like if a court gets a sense that that's what you're trying to do, or an expert like a guardian ad litem or an amicus attorney, that is not going to go well for you, my friend. And besides, I mean, the better reason not to do it, not just the money, is the consequences that's going to have on your children if you've got kids with this person. Like you two can be in crossfire trying to get revenge against each other, and then your little babies are in the middle, right? And they take all of that weaponry and that shrapnel in. So I don't think divorce is the place to get revenge at all. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody ever in the history of ever say to me, oh yeah, and I really got revenge on that SOB in my divorce, ha ha ha, like Cruella de Vil or something. Like that's not how it goes. More often than not, they say, I wish I would have just done it a little bit calmer, a little bit easier, been a little nicer. I don't really like how that went and it really hurt my kids. If I could do it all over again, I would have done it faster, straight to the point, cut a deal, and moved on with my life. Divorce is like a road littered with a bunch of potholes. And each one of those are different mistakes that you can make. But with a little careful thought and really slowing down, I think you can navigate around most of them, like not seeking revenge, ignoring what your lawyer says. Those are just like big gaping potholes that you can fall. But like, look, you've watched this video. Now you know you're gonna walk around those. But with just really keeping a cool head, taking a deep breath, and acting in a way that you're proud of, you can avoid most of those throughout the whole process.